So once again in Parshas Kedoshim, Kedoshim Tihiyu, you should be Kadosh. Question is, what does Kadosh mean? In the introduction that we had in part 1, we'll call this part 2, he gave the idea that oneness is the concept of making things one instead of separating them. So exactly how this works, that's the whole idea, is the made, male and female, and represented by the tefillin of the head, tefillin of the arm. Let's see the Zohar. But this time, we're going to do the Zohar. We're going to stick to the Matuk B'Devash as much as possible. The Zohar says, Kedoshim Tehiyu, you should be Kadosh. Kedei Lefarish Pasuk. In order to explain this, Rabbi Abba Pasuk began to say like this. And he quotes this pasuk in the Torah, Umi ka'amacha Yisrael, who is like your people? Yisrael, like Yisrael. Goy echad ba'aretz, we are the people of one. We are one. Here it sounds like one individual people. Pirish, she'ein am she'yidna the Yisrael, there is no people that can be compared to the Yisrael, the Jews. The Hios goy miyuchad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we are special. A special nation to the Jewish people. For Amar, let's go back. I think we could pick up the light print here. So the Matuk B'Devash translates, Ba'urei b'gibal ha'umah sheba'olam, lo bachar HaKadosh Baruch Hu el b'Yisrael levadim. He only really chose us. V'avar lon amara yechidoy ba'alma, and as a result of that, v'asa osam am yachid ba'olam. We're not like the other nations. This is a big flaw in the thinking of the original Zionists, who are not religious and really socialists. But they want to be like every other nation, not discriminated against. But the point is that we're not like any other nation. And everybody knows, all the nations know that. Bakara long goy echad b'shmei, bakara osam goy echad. We are called the one nation. Kamosha Shmo, who echad, be like his name, is just one. Whose name, I'm not sure. Karlo goy echad kishmei, like his name. His name is the name of oneness. By learning Torah, we achieve many different crowns. So also we have many different commandments in which to wrap ourselves. Back to Rabbi Shar, which we mentioned before, and if he came back, I'd really like to interview him a little bit. So he said, because this is the idea, is bring the power of the male force, which is Kudsha Barichu, together with the female force, with the Shchinte. What's the male force? The male force is the power of delivery, of giving. Just as we understand in the act of living together, man with his wife. He has the sperm, she has to develop it, and that's the Shechina, which is the receptacle. And by keeping this mitzvahs, he is able to stream down onto himself a taros, shehem ha'aros, bring crowns. What are the crowns? Shehem ha'aros, which are radiances, and mochim shel zun, which come from the moach, which is mean the inner blessing of the mating of zun, means zochar v'nok, or male and female. So he said, v'al kain, so therefore, nasan the Kodesh Baruch of the Yisrael, mitzvahs tefillin shall roshu romez al zer anpin, which is a reference to zer anpin. So he says the mitzvahs tefillin shall yad are remezes al malchus. So now you're wrapping yourselves in these two opposites. In order to crown a man, just like will happen, what we cause to happen as a result of the actions down below in this physical world. We call the mating of the Shefa, the oneness in the world up above us, which allows for the channel of blessing to come to us. So then he says, "V'hisata b'hem Adam ba'aras amochin ka'ayin zun shal ma'ala," just like Zachar v'Nuk, the opposites which exist in the world beyond. This causes a shleimus. Shlemas achas, one completion. B'kol chelki nishmasu ka'ayin shal ma'al. Now he said v'chakubana. The Matak just drops this in. The truth is that the Kodesh Baruch Hu can only dwell with a person who is one. A person who has tefillin on his head, and then he also has them on his arm, of his roa. This is really a reference to what we call Zohar V'Nuk, and that's the same words in Hebrew. Zun means, so we say Zohar V'Nuk. This is the kind of contraction that we find in Kabbalah. He says Zuk, so Zun means Zer Anpin and Malchus. That's what it means. In other words, the male force and the female force coming together into oneness, Nikra Echad, that's called one. Hu Kol Zohar V'Nekeva. So also, when you say the word Echad in the Kriya Shema, that's, there you got that word one again. So it's just like this, all mitzvahs, that you do this only for the name of Hashem. And as a result of that, in other words, your kavanah is that you want to give something to Hashem. This causes a yichud, a miyachad, kudsha barich v'shchimta. This is what brings the male force, kudsha barichu, that is the force of giving and delivering, to the female force, which is the force of reception, and as a result of that, creation takes place of blessing. The gam came nikra echad. That's also called one. So let's see if there's something else here that we could pick up. We have a few more minutes. So when we put on tefillin, we don't look like anybody else. You can't confuse us. Nobody else does this. Why do we do it? He explained. He says it causes us to be in a different category. We're a category of kadosh. He said, "Na'asa adam shala v'nikra echad ka'ayin zun lak zun." Just what we learned. Ki eina adam nikra echad ela kashuhu shala b'bechinda zacha v'nekeva. He has to have both parts. U'mishuhu pagom al yedera v'shetach shasach. And me makes the pagom. What with a pagom is a flaw. So who flaws this? By ayidei shasach bein tefillin shal yad tefillin shal rosh, by talking between the time that you're putting on the tefillin of the yad and the tefillin of the rosh. V'kein chasach sicha betela, when you're wearing the tefillin bebein tefilas halachash alachazar sashad. So now he points out that people a lot of times in the middle of prayer, they start davening, not in the middle of prayer, but after they have said the silent prayer, and in between that they start talking. So he said, betela bebein tefilas halachash alachazar sashad. Hashmona Esrei, when you're praying the Amida prayer. As a mitzvah. So just those are two examples. Just like all of the rest of the things that make a flaw, a remezes ala yichud, which really breaks up the oneness that is going on. Lo nikra echad, therefore it's not called one. And this is the last part we're going to do. Let's say like this. Okay, Kevin Shal Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is another word for Zer Anpin, which is the 6 kitzvahs, the flow of light coming from up above into a balance scale, which is Zer Anpin, and continues on to be processed to be able to deliver. Nikra Echad B'Shleimus Kol HaMochim Shal Abba Ve'ima. So Zer Anpin has all of the mochin, all of the juice, let's say the bracha that came from his parents, Abba Ve'ima. So the Bishleimus Avos, with the completion of the fathers. He says, what does that mean? Kolomar, let me see if I can get this on the page right. Kolomar, Asha al Yedechis Pashtas Amochem Nishlubabo Gimel Kavi Chagat. Now, it wants to say like this, is that because of the Mochim that coming into him, the Mochim split into 3 lines. They're called Chagat, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes. Chesed is the right arm, Tiferes is the middle line, is the middle, the trunk of the body, and Gevurah is Chesed, is the left line. So listen, I said it a little bit backwards. Chesed, right arm, Gevurah's left arm, Tiferes, balance in between them. Going on, he said, V'shleimus So there's a word, the word Knesset Yisrael in Kabbalah is the same word as Malchus. So he says, B'shleimus Knesset Yisrael, when we're going to talk about the female part, I want to say what part of that brings about her completeness. That is the Malchus, which joins together with the Zer Anpin, with the male force. In other words, she's a receptacle. And this, therefore, she comes to him, he comes to her, they mate. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the concept of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the giver, is the sod of Zer Anpin, whose sod are the first two letters of the word Echad, Ach, which is, we got a way to analyze that and see what he says. So Ach the Echad. Malchus he sod Dalet the Echad. V'chein Yisrael the Mater Nekroim Gam came Echad. So therefore Yisrael down below, they're also called by this name Echad. He said, when a person puts on tefillin, and before that, so he also, before he puts on tefillin, he covers himself, he wraps himself in a talus. When he does those two acts, he is crowning himself, adorning himself with what is the word ba'ataros, with the crowns of kedusha that come from up above. Shemamshik al atzmo. Let me see if I can get a little bit better focus here. Shemamshik al atzmo be'or hamochen dezun, because the light that comes about as a result of the mating in the original, in the world of Atzilus, where everything is almost completely absorbed into the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, but not completely, because it's going to deliver to us. Who mis'ater b'ataras kadoshas ka'ayin shel ma'ala, then the person becomes umamshik al atzvach or hamochin dezar, and he brings the light of the mochin from Zun, of their mating, the nikra echad shalom, hashalom, and he becomes a complete one. So therefore it's a concept like this. Bring a concept of oneness. That oneness will work for what's up above as well. And the Mefarish has explained that Kodesh Baruch Hu, Shehu Echad, Yishtadach b'Yisrach l'Nikroim Echad, that he's going to work with us, because we can also be one. Just parenthetically, Israel's in a war, a very ugly war right now. Before that, Israel was in a war by herself, between the leftists and the traditional Jews, and the more traditional are the people that love the land. There's also many different ways to be different. But now the war, our cousins are, they're not really cousins, the Arabs are a half-brother to the Jewish people. This war is forcing us more together. He himself has to make every effort he can to lead the Jewish people and look out over us, because we have the ability to come together to bring all these opposite unbelievable forces out. I was recently in Israel, and Mitzvah Shem, I'm going to go back again. You see I grew up in a very limited family and in a community where most of the people came from the same place. And that's what I thought the Jews were. When you go to Israel, you're going to find out that there are Jews who are all different kinds of colors and different kinds of accents and different views. I mean, compared to somebody from Ethiopia towards somebody who came from Ukraine. I mean, just the opposites are so glaring. And I'm American. The whole less Malcolm Ishtadl Ela B'madi is Chazile, and this is the final line. He says, Ki ein hamelech mishtadl, the king does not work with, for Isaac and deal with, Elama Sharawi Lo, but what's fit for him. And that's our job. Our job is to promote oneness, mating, blending, bringing all together, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu is the needle and thread that will and can bring us all together, but we need some hishtadlus down below. Isra'usa de latata. This is Baruch Fleischman. You've been listening to the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.